We've talked about the negative aspects of ethanol for quite a few years on this channel, and some agree with it, some don't. So today, we're going to kind of put that to the test and see what actually happens when ethanol is exposed to these two carburetors. Let's go. For whatever reason, it seems to be a big argument about what ethanol does or doesn't do to fuel systems, what the water that it attracts does or doesn't do to fuel systems. And quite honestly, I'm a little tired of it. And why not? Let's put it to the test. There's some folk, well, not everyone, if there are folks that think that there is no effect on ethanol, E10, E85, in a carbureted application, fuel system, old muscle car, great. Let's find out today, sort of, and see exactly what happens to these two carburetors when they're exposed to ethanol over a long period of time. But to do that, let's move over to the other bench because this test is going to take a little bit longer than just a couple hours to perform. So let's move over there and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Now, I've shown you plenty of examples in the past of carburetors that have been damaged by ethanol. I've got quite a few here that I still have that I hang on to for that exact reason, so you can kind of see what happens when ethanol and the water that it attracts, what effect it has on these carburetors. Now, other fuel system stuff I haven't, but the GMC truck wasn't quite as bad as I thought it was. The tank was actually in really horrible shape before we replaced it, but I didn't get a lot of video of that. I just kind of cut it apart and threw it away so we could take a look at the inside. But the damage is still there, and certainly I used to think that people wouldn't argue about that ethanol has some negative effect on these carburetors, but people love to argue, and quite honestly, it's not a bad thing because you know what? We haven't tested this yet on to see what actually happens over a long period of time. Now, I know what happens because I've seen it firsthand. You probably know what happens because you've probably seen some carburetors that have had that damage and is directly tied back to the ethanol and the water that thing attracts. And I don't know if there's anyone that can argue that, although there'll be a few people that'll argue about it in the comment section. So here's what we're going to do. I've thought about this quite a long time of how I wanted to do this test, and realistically the best way to do this is to have 3 different carburetors of each type and then do one in just regular non-ethanol, non-additive fuel, and then test both of them with that, and then have a separate carburetor, do E10, have a third carburetor and do E85. But I don't have those number of cores laying around, and it's going to make it a little bit more complicated to do that. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 2 carburetors and we're going to expose them to E85 over an extended period of time. Now, is that fair on them? Probably not, but if we're going to test it, let's test it to the extreme, and then maybe in a few months or a year or so, I'll find some more Holley type carburetors that we can use and do in the same type of test to see what happens, and we'll try it with E10, and then maybe we'll just try it with non-ethanol fuel because that's going to be the base for it all. But what I think I will do is I will have a smaller version of that test where we'll do on ethanol free, and then we'll go directly to E85 on these. So that's what we're going to start out with. But before I do that, I want to knock these apart. The Edelbrock one's already apart. I just need to rebuild it when we get back to the actual test. We'll knock the Holley apart so we can verify that there's no ethanol damage in there. And then, we'll have to kind of knock some of the pieces off here. I don't think the choke and vacuum housing is going to fit into the test containers that I have for both of these, so maybe I'll use that in the standard test and or the control test, and we'll test it in regular ethanol free gas and see what happens. So let me knock these apart real quick. We'll take a look at them and then we'll get started. I had to do a little massaging of the hardware a little bit to get this to fit in here, but this is where things can get a little controversial. I'm going to just fill this full of E85. Period. End of story. I don't really care. As long as a majority of this is kind of covered with fuel. I don't really care about the vacuum side of the power valve. What happens, happens. It's not that big of a deal to me. So that's what we're gonna do. Let me get the E85 over here and we'll get her filled up. Okay, again, that's probably going to drop a little bit as things kind of settle a little bit, but that's the plan, and we will seal this up. Well, we're into a little problem here. This handle doesn't work, so I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to just break this down and try to get it to fit in there the best we can. So let's do that. Let's see if the Edelbrock will go in, how well we can do that. Well, the Edelbrock's kind of the same way. I was hoping we could do that fully assembled, so let me do that. Let me knock the Edelbrock down and see if we can kind of fit most of that in there. Yeah, something I wasn't anticipating, but again, I just picked these up today because they're sealable, and hopefully I'll do that. So let me do that. Let me break the Edelbrock down, see how much we can fit in there, but it is what it is. Okay, round two. So looks like what we're going to be able to do is just have the Edelbrock in there as it is, and yeah. All right, well, not what I had planned on, but it's still going to function the best we can, so let's get this filled up full of E85. Yeah, I guess that's the best we can do, so let's get her sealed up here, and hopefully that will seal up well enough. I guess we better do that as well. We'll mark on the side here the level of that, and hopefully we can tell if anything evaporates out of there. So again, not exactly what I was hoping for, but you know what, it's still going to be a good test. So all right, we got that marked on there. Let's mark our date here, 6/29/25. All right, let's break down that Holley and see if we can add some pieces in there. I think that's going to be just as good. Okay, I was able to take the base plate off and throw the bowls in there. And yeah. Okay. Well, that fits in there about as best we can. We'll do the exact same thing, get the date on here, and we will mark the level on here so we can kind of keep an eye on it, make sure nothing evaporates out of here. So, okay, not exactly what I was planning, but all right. The biggest concern is that these seal up well enough that this will be able to live here in a more of a climate controlled environment. I don't want to put it outside or put it in a shed where you know, temperatures can get over 115 inside of there. It gets pretty hot. So at least here in the garage, we're kind of climate controlled. 80, 85 is really about as hot as it gets here, which is okay. But okay, well, I guess that's it. So let me do this. Let me get these on the shelf, and we will come back. I'll just test it, check it periodically. But yeah, the big concern or question is, will these survive, and what will they look like after being fully submerged in the E85 for a certain period of time? So let's let some time click off the calendar and see what happens. Okay, night night. Let's see what happens.
Several months later.
I keep walking by these and I keep wondering, man, I wonder how they're doing. Well, I'm afraid curiosity's got the best of me. So I'm not going to touch the controls. These are just pieces and parts of the carburetors, and that is in non-ethanol fuel. Just wanted to see if that made any difference in it or not. Sealed. Doesn't look like it's lost any level in it. The ethanol ones here, I'm kind of surprised. These containers aren't... I think this one's lost a little bit of fuel level. Not a hell of a lot, but it's pretty good that those have sealed up. So I can't wait. I want to take these out and take a look at them. So I'm going to do that. Move these outside so I can work with these and not being in a confined space. This is gasoline after all. So, yeah. Interesting. I'm going to get these out. I'm going to drain them as best I can. And a little weird. It's got like kind of a gel on there. I'll let these drain and then we'll, wow. Huh. Must be some water in there or something. I don't know what that is. But we'll let these sit out here for a few minutes. It's a 95-degree day, kind of warm. And we'll let these sit out here for a few minutes. It shouldn't take them that long to evaporate off. And we'll see how they look. Want to let these dry out the best I can. That way we can get a good look at them and see if there's any corrosion or anything on here. I left gaskets and everything on here just to a little gross. I'll leave all the hardware in there for now. So, all right, well, let me give this a few minutes to kind of settle, and then we'll go back to the workbench, take a look at it. So, well, let's see how this did. It's kind of interesting. Sat out, not really in the sun. Sun kind of went out on me, but doesn't matter. It's still warm out there. You can see it's starting to miscolor there, but that's weird because everything else was submerged, and that was exposed to air, I believe. I'll have to go back and look at the video, but yeah, starting to show some discoloration there. Yeah, on the hardware. Internally, though, it doesn't look that bad. The gasket's still welded on there, so I'll leave it on there. I'm not going to try to... When we get to that point, I'll break off the rear block, but for now, yeah, not too bad. Let's see what the bolts look like. Yeah, well, yeah, it's starting to show some signs of deterioration. You can see that white chalky mess left behind, so the bulls are certainly taking the brunt of the abuse here. Same with the same with the metering block. You can see what it's starting to do to the jets, and certainly where the fuel level was at in there previously, I think is probably starting to warn or wear that protective, not really a coating, but certainly a finish that they have to help them from breaking down. But all in all, it's starting to get bad. You can see it more on the outside than you can really on the inside on this one. It's got a little bit, but all in all, it's not horrible. I mean, you're screwed on that metering block. Those jets are going to be fun to get out of there. That power valve is getting crusty, so weird. Well, now that we've seen this, wait till you see the Edelbrock. Well, I'd like to say that the Edelbrock carburetor fared better, but oh my gosh, it is 1,000 times worse. That gel that we felt when I pulled it out of the fuel, yeah, it's the aluminum breaking down is what it was. Now, this carburetor was frozen up anyway, so I believe it was. Maybe it wasn't. I'll have to take a look back at it. If not, it's frozen. But look at the bottom of this thing. Starting to break the aluminum down. Wow. That is, that's really bad. Now, this was in the exact same fuel, the exact same can that the Holley was in. Same fuel, same conditions, same shelf, same relative temperature that they're experiencing. They're both sealed up, so they're not really, exposed to a lot of moisture in the air. So whatever was in that fuel was what it was seeing normally. Being in the tank, coming out of the pump there at the gas station. Good heavens, this is really bad. Now we're at the end of August, beginning of September, so it's only been in there for a month and a half. Well, let's call it 2 months. Let's call it 2 months exactly. Yeah, wow. I wonder how much worse it's going to get. It's a horror show. It's literally a horror show. Now, I'm going to leave the jets in there. I'm not going to disassemble this anymore. I want to leave it together as it was. Man, the Venturi are fried. Well, let's talk about the reasons why here. Now, this is the worst case scenario. This is E85. It's not E10 or an E15 winter blended fuel. This is E85. Neither one of these carburetors should have ever been in contact with E85. Period. End of story. I would hope no one would disagree with that. Somebody's going to, though. But Edelbrock and Holley will both tell you that neither one of these carburetors, even that's a really old Holley, but that style of carburetor should never be run with E85 fuel. This is the reason why, especially what we saw on the Edelbrock carburetor. That's a train wreck. The Holley's starting to get there. I don't know if it started out better or if this one started out any worse. They were just two that I grabbed off the shelf that I had available to test, and there was no other consideration given to it. Now, I could buy a brand new Edelbrock carburetor and a brand new Holley and do that to it, do this test to it, but I don't have the $1,000 or more that test would cost. So if you want to hit me up on my Patreon or buy me a beer or buy me a coffee, link in there. I'm happy to take your donation. I would certainly consider it, but yeah, I don't think anyone wants to spend that kind of money to purposely destroy a carburetor. So why did this occur? Well, alcohol, ethanol, is a very corrosive agent. It is going to come in contact with things that it just doesn't like. It's not designed to handle it. This carburetor was certainly that situation. In an aluminum-bodied carburetor, the metal's not that bad. Actually, it kind of... yeah, I'll have to take a look. I don't think I took really detailed pictures of all the linkage, but that doesn't look too bad. But the aluminum, it's fried. It's gone. The Holley, on the other hand, a little bit better, but yeah, they're certainly not capable of handling that. That type of compound is just ugly on its own. I don't care what you say, what you think, what you read on the internet. I prove that right here. Ethanol is a very caustic material. Now, this is a combination of the ethanol, the alcohol, and the water. There is water in that fuel. We will have to test it out of the can. I think I still got a little bit left in that sealed container, and maybe we'll test it out of the tub container to see what the percentage of water was in their thing. I have a feeling it's rather high. This was probably E80, E75, and probably a lot more water than it probably should have. Just by looking at it, it's hard to say, but the combination of those two fluids, the alcohol and the water, forms a very caustic, nasty, disgusting thing. The ethanol is going to break it down, and the water is going to absolutely do this damage. Primarily, that's probably what you see here, is more of water damage than anything else. But the two work hand in hand. It's not like they're you know, the ethanol came in and said, I'm going to clean this carburetor and it's going to be beautiful and perfect after that. And the water came in and said, no, you're not. The two had that negative impact on it together. So it doesn't matter what you've heard, what you think, you know, what research you've read, there's the proof to you as about as controlled a situation as I could put it into. Sealed containers, they didn't lose any fuel out of there, really. I mean, a tiny little bit, maybe. Out of the Edelbrock one, I think we saw it drop just a little bit. I'll have to look back at the video, but to see, I can't remember which one we saw. But even then, it's not like it was going to replace it all with a tremendous amount of water. It's humid here in the Mid-South. It's absolutely humid. We've got more of that climate down here. But that is what you get when you get water and ethanol that mix together. And I don't care what what you think it can do to be a cleaning agent and work really well. When the carburetor and the material is not designed to handle it, that is what's going to happen to it. Period. End of story. So what are we going to do with these things? Well, I'm going to tell you what. I'm putting them right back in that ethanol bath. They're going right back in their little E85 bath, and they're just going to sit there and simmer away. I think the Edelbrock carburetor might not be usable at this point, but we'll see if a couple more months does it any worse. But yeah, it's pretty gnarly. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. Again, I'm not going to break anything more down. We'll leave it, the power valve in, the jets in. The jets are in the Edelbrock carburetor. I kind of wish I had bigger containers to do the entire carburetor. But again, this is worst case scenario. You're not going to get into that situation where you have ethanol, raw ethanol fuel sitting on the base of that carburetor. But you're certainly going to get it in the fuel bowls. And yeah, they don't look any better. They look just as bad. But yeah, you can seriously see how it played havoc on the outside of this thing. So again, worst case scenario, it's never going to be in this type of operating environment. But again, it's just the material and how it reacts to it. That's all we're looking at. If we want to get technical and only look inside the bowls here, you know, look in the wet side of the metering block here. If we want to just look inside, you know, the accelerator pump well, the fuel bowls, and just see what's doing there, it's the exact same thing. It's very awful. So I don't know what else to say about it. We're going to put these back in. I don't know how long we're going to let sit in there. Maybe a couple more months. I don't know. Maybe longer. Got any questions about this horror show, please don't hesitate. Leave them down below. Again, I wish with all the things YouTube's doing to try to, you know, try different things to get people to interact more, I would love it if they would allow you all to post pictures in the comments, but they don't allow you to do that. Certainly you can tag me on photos and Instagram, join the Facebook group, or you can email them to me to my at my website. I've got a contact link there. You can send me email with photos and all that other stuff. But yeah, I would love to hear about your mishaps or your negative experiences with ethanol fuel. Again, E10, I don't know that it would have been this bad. Maybe we'll do this test again down the road where we take a Holley and Edelbrock carburetor and just submerge them in E10 and see what happens. But E85 was worst case scenario. I knew it was going to be bad. I had no idea it was going to be that bad. But yeah, that's the fun of doing things to an extreme, I guess. You get extreme results, and yeah, I'm almost tempted to try to pull one of those idle mixture screws out. Totally leave it all in there, let it go. So these are going back in the bath. Ask your questions down below. Appreciate you giving me a thumbs up on the video and leaving a comment. YouTube loves that. It helps me promote the channel. So thank you for all that do that and can consistently show up every week and, you know, say hi and ask questions and leave comments. I can't tell you how much it helps the channel out. It's been tremendous to kind of see a little bit of growth that we've had over the last year and a half. So it's been fun. I hope you all have had fun too. So anyway, leave those comments down below, and good grief, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Ugh.